going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy, Boulanger. Up next, Ravens versus Broncos. Let's talk. So the Baltimore Ravens take on the Denver Broncos tomorrow in Baltimore. I think this is a matchup that no one would have expected to be a pivotal game for the Baltimore Ravens and even for the Denver Broncos. I think the assumption would have been when you heard Denver Broncos at the beginning of the season, you would have thought rookie quarterback, you would have thought about the mess that Russell Wilson was in last year with Sean Payton, you would have thought about the $35 million cap hit from Russell Wilson departing. You would have thought about all of these things. But here the Denver Broncos sit with the same exact record as the Baltimore Ravens at 5-3. I think this game in particular is a must win for the Baltimore Ravens. Yes, a must win. There is no way in the football world that the Baltimore Ravens can leave Sunday with a loss. If they do, it will be devastating to all things playoffs. Number one, it will be devastating to any type of chance of winning the AFC North, which you guys already know. I believe the Baltimore Ravens have already handed the North to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But it would then begin to be a devastating loss to their playoff seeding or playoff possibilities. Well, why? Well, here's the thing. All of the Baltimore Ravens losses are in the AFC, and one of which already is a divisional game, which I believe serves as 2 losses, right? So if you take another loss against the Denver Broncos, you would have 4 AFC losses. That would move the Denver Broncos ahead of you in any kind of tie-breaking situation if you happen to be at the end of the season with a similar record. And then you turn around and have to face the Bengals on a short week on Thursday night. So it's really, I think, a pivotal game for the Baltimore Ravens. And so how can the Baltimore Ravens win this game? Well, let's talk about Denver a little bit more. Denver is a team that comes into this game pretty hot and playing pretty consistent ball. And I think that the Denver Broncos bring a consistent run game, not a dominant run game, but a consistent run game, which means they try over again to run the ball. They don't leave that part of the game out. And then they have a complementary pass game led by Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton. And so I think that when it comes to us matching up against their offense, I think it's a situation where we're going to have to show a rookie quarterback that he's a rookie. I know that we didn't do so swell against Jaden Daniels because he too came in with a lot of hype. And I think that he showed very well against the Baltimore Ravens. But Bo Nix doesn't come in with the same hype, but he is improving every week if you paid any attention to what he has going on over in Denver. But I think we have to show him something different with blitz packages. I think we have to show him something different with secondary coverage and try and offer him some plays or some looks that's going to be confusing and see if we can get a couple of turnovers. We also have to play stout against the run because they, again, like I said, they're a consistent team that tries to run the ball. And with having some injuries in the trenches for the Baltimore Ravens along that defensive line, that's going to make that task more difficult for this week. And so I think that, like always, there's 5 keys to victory, and I'm going to start on the defensive side of the ball because the offensive side of the ball for the Baltimore Ravens, I think, will be severely tested also. I think key number 1, I think that this is going to be a linebacking type game. Denver comes in as a rough and rugged team. They have a level of toughness that they try to display. And I think this is going to be a Roquan Smith, Trenton Simpson type of game. This is going to be a game where there can't be many tackles missed. This has to be a game where they're playing at the line of scrimmage, meaning they're meeting the running back at the line of scrimmage. This is going to be the type of game where you have to play sideline to sideline. You make big hits and you let Denver know that, you know what, you're here, you're playing against a potential Super Bowl contender. You're in Baltimore and we ain't playing no games this Sunday. It can't be one of those games where Denver gets off the bus and they show more confidence than Baltimore. That's what I think it has to be this week for the front 7, if you will, the linebacking corps and the interior defensive linemen. I think that key number 2 is going to be in the secondary. I think that the secondary has to come up with at least 2 interceptions. I think it's going to be vital that we give our offense a couple of extra shots to score the ball. And so I think this may be the week where you see Marcus Williams step up and get a pick. I'm just going to go ahead and predict it. I don't have a lot of trust in him. He has not played well this week. He's had some controversy around him. And the only way he gets that controversy removed from around him is going to be to play well. I think this is a week he gets a pick. I don't know if Marlon Humphrey's playing. I hadn't even really checked any injury reports. I've been super busy this week, but I think if Marlon Humphrey's playing, I think he comes up with a pick as well. So I think we need at least 2 picks. And I think if we can do that in the front 7, and if we can do that with the secondary, I'm not saying we limit them to 200 yards passing, that kind of thing. I'm just saying we have to get some turnovers and we have to be stout against the run in order to get this win on the defense side of the ball. Let's jump to the offense. I think there are 3 keys offensively for the Baltimore Ravens. Number 1, well, actually number 3, but number 1, offense, okay? The number 1 key for the offense would be limit Lamar Jackson's runs. Lamar Jackson's runs must be only on scrambles where he's going towards the sideline. And I'll tell you why. Because beyond this week, without a healthy Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens are literally going nowhere, okay? And when you come up on the injury report with a back and a knee concern, those 2 things are in sync. Your lower extremities and your back must be in alignment, or you're going to have continual problems. And so Lamar has taken some bigger hits over the last 3 weeks where he's going up the middle and he doesn't slide and he takes full contact. He has had some big hits, and I think he had 1 big collision in the backfield on a sack. And so the only way to limit that is to hand the ball off. I'm not saying don't do the read option style or the RPO style, but the messaging must be you hand the ball off. I think a Derrick Henry 3-yard run is better than a Lamar Jackson 7-yard run, but he's taking hits on an already sensitive body. So that's number 1, man, because if he gets dinged up in the first half, the second half is going to look weird. And so this season is actually reminding me of both the 2022 season and the 2023 season, where Lamar Jackson left the game and didn't return with season-ending injuries. And so we can't have that, because you remember in those seasons, he was an MVP candidate. The Baltimore Ravens were near the top of the AFC, and he took a hit in the backfield, and that was it. So we got to keep Lamar Jackson clean. You have running backs. You have Patrick Ricard. You have Derrick Henry. You have Justice Hill, and you may even have a little bit of Keaton Mitchell this week. And so turn around, hand that thing off. Use that power eye that you have been using at a devastating rate this season. So that leads me to number 2. Schematic, or number 2 offensive key. Schematically, you must use that power eye. The Denver Broncos, again, are a rough and rugged team, so you have to take them on the same way. Line Patrick Ricard up in the power eye. Line Derrick Henry up behind him, which is when he's had a lot of his productive runs, especially when it goes between the tackles, and play smash mouth football. The only time you want to show something different is when it may be a passing down. But don't make it so obvious either. Leave Derrick Henry in there on passing downs too. Show them a little bit of that Derrick Henry, Justice Hill 2-back set to where it's a little bit more deception. But when it comes to the run game, utilize that power eye formation. Put Lamar Jackson under center and go downhill. The third key, and key number 5, third offensive key and key 5 overall, is going to be utilize the short passing game merged with an up-tempo offense. Let me tell you what I mean. Patrick Surtain is playing like the best cornerback in the entire league. He's not letting much happen on his side of the ball. He already has 3 interceptions and several deflections. And so I don't know if you really want to test him. I'm not sure if he's going to travel with Zay this week. But if he does, then you're going to need to utilize your tight ends more. You're going to need to utilize Rashad Bateman, Nelson Aguilar, and maybe even a little bit of Deontay Johnson if he does play this week. I know he's already been practicing. And so the short passing game is going to help keep Lamar Jackson clean as well, right? That 5 to 7 yards. Please don't do those wide receiver screens. This defense is too stout and too fast to use those wide receiver screens to be really effective. Running back screens is one thing. The wide receiver screen is something different. And so utilize the short passing game, the intermediate passing game, utilize those big tight ends, cause some confusion across the middle, and scheme those those receivers open so that you can keep Lamar Jackson clean. 2-3 seconds, the ball's out, no hits on the quarterback, or minimize hits on your quarterback. And then the up-tempo offense is where you keep that defense on the field. You don't allow them to rotate. The way you stop a good pass rush, or at least slow down a good pass rush, the way you stop a defensive front from being dominant is to speed it up. The Baltimore Ravens do look good when they speed it up, although we have not seen that methodology much this season. If we speed it up this week, right, and play a little bit faster, don't allow this defense to rotate, I think we can gain an advantage. This is not the week that we can get stuck in the mud like we have a couple of times over the last 3 or 4 weeks. This is not the week where we can fall into that lull that last 3 or 4 drives. This is not the week where Lamar Jackson heroics is going to get us a win in the fourth quarter. I don't believe this is that kind of week because of the consistency of the Denver Broncos. This is the week where the Ravens must be consistent in everything we do. Consistent when we're running the ball, consistent with our blocking, consistent with our passing, consistent with our catching, consistent against the run, and consistent in pass coverage. Because if we're not consistent, this team, not even really foul power for the Denver Broncos, this team just has a mindset that they're going to out-tough you. And we need to develop some toughness in Baltimore. And so those are my keys to victory. Let me know what you guys want me to know, man, about what you believe keys to victory are. One more bonus as I'm thinking about it. We can't get out coached. We can't get out coached this week. This cannot be the week where Todd Monken has a brain freeze to where he forgets what's working, where he forgets to include Derrick Henry. This can't be that week. This can't be the week where John Harbaugh doesn't know whether he should go for it or whether he should punt, whether he should kick the field goal or whether he should go for it, whether he should challenge a play or not challenge. This can't be that week, whether he uses all the timeouts before we need to use them or not. This can't be that week, because if it is, the Baltimore Ravens will have their 4th loss. I'm your guy, Boulanger, and I'm out.